Hi, I'm Katie Couric, and welcome to Eye to Eye. Our latest CBS News New York Times poll shows Rudy Giuliani's lost much of his lead in the race for the Republican presidential nomination now that Fred Thompson has jumped in the race. Jeff Greenfield spoke to Giuliani biographer Andrew Kirtzman about the former New York City mayor's chances.
He was the victim of his own success to a large degree. In his first term, he had such huge obstacles to overcome, and he slayed that monster. He slayed the crime monster. He slayed the quality of life monster. By the time his second term came around, he had a search for battles. And this is a man who needs a big war. He's a general, and he was a general in search of a war that didn't exist at that point.
To some extent, or maybe to a large extent, did 9/11 then make what people were tired of Giuliani for, this combativeness? And maybe you put it, he found a battle.
Right. With the attacks on the World Trade Center, he found a battle worthy of his talents. I mean, he was a man who was born to lead. And Giuliani, his whole nature requires an enemy. And boy, did he find one on September 11th, 2001. And prior to that, he was a man in search of an enemy. For those first few hours on that horrible morning, Giuliani was the face of government. He was the only person appearing on television and assuring America that things would be okay. And I think that made an indelible impression on the American psyche.
I have actually heard people say, you know, it's one thing for a guy like Giuliani to run the city with that temperament. I'm a little uneasy about a president of the United States with that temperament. Now, how fair is that concern, do you think?
I think that's the key question when it comes to Giuliani's presidential run. Listen carefully when Rudy Giuliani says that he wants to keep America on offense. It's more than just his philosophy about fighting terrorism. It goes to the heart of his political and personal philosophy of leading his life and governing. He is a man who is disposed towards attack and offense in every aspect of his life, be it his wife, the school's chancellor, or Osama bin Laden. And the question is whether America really needs, a human hand grenade as its president.
I think more than 9/11, when we get down closer to where people actually have to vote in these first tests, that Giuliani's stewardship of New York may be his strongest claim to the presidency. Other people say no, it's all about, it's 9/11, it's leadership, it transforms all of his liabilities into assets. Do you have a sense of how those weigh, you think, in terms of the Giuliani theory of the case?
People sense a leader. They can smell a leader. And they got that from his performance on 9/11, but they also got that from his performance as mayor. America wasn't looking closely at what he was doing at New York, but New York is flooded with tourists, by the millions. And I think what they were experiencing was a dramatic change in the environment. And I think that was probably credited to Giuliani. So when he comes and he claims, I'm able to launch a turnaround, I think he has a lot of credibility.
To what extent do you think the full dimension of his personal life, going all the way back to the first wife, is a landmine for him?
Well, it's uncharted territory to have someone with such a checkered personal history. But my feeling has always been that Americans are willing to overlook a lot of flaws when it comes to Giuliani because he's come to represent something larger, which is their personal security. I think New Yorkers were willing to overlook a lot of his flaws because he represented their personal security in literally keeping them safe when they went to work in the morning. And I think Americans came to see him the same way on the morning of September 11th.